I'm Miss Audrey at the Rockles Memorial Library, and today I'm going to show you how to make a Peek-A-Boo clothespin. It's called a Peek-A-Boo clothespin because when you pinch the clothespin, Peek-A-Boo! There's another little fish inside. We're going to make 3 of these today. So we're going to make a fish, a whale, and a narwhal. So the first step that we're going to do is we're going to look at what we have in our take and make bags. So of course, if you have signed up for the take and make crafts at the library, you should have gotten a baggie that looks something like this, and you should have some craft supplies in it. So I'm going to empty mine out here on the table, and we're going to take a look at what we have in here. We should have 3 clothespins, 1 little tube of glue, and we should have 3 animal shapes. We should have a fish, a narwhal, and a whale. And you should also have an extra little scrap piece of paper for drawing on, because you're going to draw whatever you want to be in the little Peek-A-Boo part of your clothespin. So for this one, I drew a little fish. And for my whale, I drew a little sailboat. So you can draw whatever you want on this. You just want to make sure it's small enough that it fits in the mouth of your other bigger animals. Okay, so the first step though is we're going to color our animals. So you can use whatever you have to color with at home, maybe crayons or markers or colored pencils. You can go ahead and color your whale, your fish, and your narwhal. I've already colored mine that we're going to be using today, so I'm just going to set these ones off to the side. And I'm going to show you these ones so you can get an idea of where maybe you might want to draw some lines, or you might want to draw the eye on your animals. So this is my fish. I put a lot of detail into my fish, drawing lines for the fins, drawing an eye, and even drawing all of these scales. Maybe you want to draw your fish the way I drew mine, or maybe you want your fish to look different. It's all up to you. Next, I'll show you my whale. This is my whale that I colored. I gave him an eye, and I drew a line across here, and so that I could draw the lines for his belly, and I drew a little line here so that his fin stands out a little bit more. You can draw your whale like mine, or you can make them look different. This spot right here where I drew my line, that's also where we're going to cut it for the mouth when we put them on the clothespin. So that's the only reason I drew a line there. Otherwise, you don't want to draw a mouth on your animals, because then it might end up being not in the same spot where you want to cut later. Then it'll look kind of weird. So like if I drew my fish mouth way up here, but then I decided to cut down here further, then it'd be like the fish had 2 mouths. That'd be kind of silly. I did that with my narwhal, so we'll see how the narwhal turns out. I drew a mouth on my narwhal because I was like, I want my narwhal to look cute, but my narwhal might turn out having 2 mouths when we cut it to go on the clothespins. But I'll show you what I drew for my narwhal too. I drew an eye. I drew a mouth, but I don't recommend doing that. I drew the lines on its horn. I drew lines for its fins to make those stand out a little more. And I drew a little line on its tail. And I added all these cute little dots because narwhals, I think, have dots on their back. So you can color your narwhal like mine, or you can make it look different. It's all up to you. So you go ahead and pause the video and get all your coloring done, and once you're done, then you can play the video and we'll keep going and I'll show you how to cut them out. Okay, are you ready to see where to cut in order to make your animals open their mouths to make the Peek-A-Boo pins? Okay, I'll show you where we're going to cut. So on the fish, I'll show you on my fish that I already did. I cut a line going up from the tip of its mouth and a curve down and then straight across right through its tail. So you can see that in there. The line goes right straight across like that. It curves down and then goes straight across. So I'm going to cut my other one, my other fish. And then I'll show you. And you are going to be cutting your fish completely into 2 pieces. If you don't think you'll be able to do this, you can always have a grown-up help you. Okay, so I cut my fish into 2 pieces. So when it goes on my clothespin, it'll go nom nom nom. I'm gonna eat the little fish. Okay. So that's how I cut my fish. Now, like I mentioned before with the whale, I'm gonna cut right across this line that I drew. So you can see on my first whale, that's where the line went to. It went kind of curved across there, and then it went straight across. On the whale, I went under the tail. And so we cut it into 2 whole pieces. So I'll go ahead and cut this one, and then I will show you. Okay, there we go. I cut my whale into 2 pieces. This whale's ready to swallow some ships. Woohoo! And now for my narwhal. I didn't make a narwhal before. This is my first time doing the narwhal, so we'll see where I end up drawing the line. I think I'm going to go right under the tail again like I did for the whale. So I'll see if I can line it up with the mouth I drew too. I might do a little curve for the mouth, and then I'll go straight across. There we go. There's how I cut my narwhal. Kind of looks like he's smiling. Okay, so the next step is going to be gluing them onto the clothespins. So I'll do my fish first. I'm going to glue the top part on first and then the bottom part. So one important thing to do to notice when you're gluing them is that you don't want them to be over top of the metal part of your clothespin. So I'm only gluing the very back part of my fish. I'm only putting a little glue on the back part, and the rest of him is going to stick out at the front of my clothespin. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get my tube of glue out. I'm going to cut one end off with my scissors, and I'm just going to dab a little bit of glue on my clothespin. I'm going to spread it out. There we go. Now I'm going to take my fish and I'm going to glue it on so that where I cut is lined up with where the clothespin opens. Just like that. Now I'm going to get a little glue and put it on the bottom part of the clothespin, and then I'll glue the bottom part of my fish on. Put some glue on there, spread it out. Now this is the tricky part, is that you want to get it to line up with the top part of your fish. So you got to get them kind of in the same spot on the bottom and on the top. There we go. That's pretty close. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm still kind of getting mine adjusted. This part can be a little tricky. Now that I'm getting my bottom part on, I think my top part is maybe not lined up with it quite right. Oh, I was just trying to put my back part on too far back. So see, I was trying to put the bottom part on way back here, and it wasn't lining up right. So I needed to scoot it forward, and now it's perfect. Now, the other thing is, you don't want your clothespin to get all glued together. So what you should do is you should open it up, and then you should stick something inside of it, like another clothespin, like that, to hold it open while it dries, because you don't want the clothespin getting glued together, and you don't want the top part and bottom part of your fish to get glued together. So as long as you've got something in there while the glue dries, that'll keep that from happening. So I'm going to set that down and let that one dry. And next we're going to do the narwhal. I think I'm probably going to save the whale for later, since we're using that clothespin over here to help that one dry. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the same thing I did with my fish, and I'm going to glue my narwhal, the top and the bottom. So I'm going to start with my glue. I'm going to put a little glue right here on my clothespin. Just takes one little dab and then spread it all out. I'll put the top part of my narwhal on. So I got my top part on, and then I'm going to put my bottom part on. So I'll put another little dab of glue, spread it all out. Now I'll add the bottom part of my narwhal. Okay, now I've got my bottom part on, and just like the fish, I want to open it up and stick another clothespin in there so that it can dry without getting glued together. There we go. Alright, so my fish and my narwhal are going to dry now. If the paper starts to curl up a little bit, just push down on it so it stays stuck to the glue. And once they're dry, then we will move on to the next step, which is the Peek-A-Boo part. So let's wait for our glue to dry, and then we'll be right back. Okay, we shouldn't have had to wait too long. This glue dries pretty fast, so if your glue's dry and you're ready to keep going, we will move on to the next step. This is also the last step, so I'm going to take this opportunity right here to tell you guys the secret code for today's craft. Now, if you're doing the bingo challenge at the library, the summer reading bingo challenge, then it's going to say somewhere on your bingo board that you need to attend a library event. And doing this take and make craft counts as attending a library event. And so the secret code that you need to write down on your bingo board or type in on your bingo board on the computer is Penderwick. There's a book series for middle schoolers called The Penderwicks, and it's all about a family called the Penderwicks, and it's a cute little book series, and so that's where I got the idea for this code word. So if you need to know how to spell Penderwick, it is Penderwick. Penderwick. And the P should be capitalized. If you're typing it in on the computer, it might be kind of picky about that, so make sure you capitalize that first letter. So, finishing up our craft here today, our Peek-A-Boo Clothespins, is we're going to add whatever's going to be peek-a-booing out of your clothespin. And so I already drew a little fish. This is what you're going to draw on your little scrap piece of paper. And so I already drew a little fish, and the really important thing that you need to remember is whatever you draw, you can draw anything you want. Maybe you want to draw a person. Is there a person getting eaten by a fish? That'd be pretty funny. Is that you want to leave a little tab underneath it for you to put your glue on so that you can glue it in. This part's not going to be seen, but you need it for putting the glue on it, okay? So when you cut it out, make sure to leave a little tab underneath. So once you're done with your drawing and your coloring, then we can glue in whatever you drew that's going to be saying Peek-A-Boo. Okay. Now if you're ready to keep going, I'll show you exactly how to put that in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my glue stick and I'm going to put just a little tiny bit of glue on that little tab sticking out at the bottom of my drawing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my clothespin, and I'm going to look at it, and I'm going to look at where exactly looks like the fish's mouth, or maybe you want it to be in the fish's belly, and I'm just going to stick it in there just like that. And then I'm going to look at it and say, oh, yeah, I like that. That's a good spot. Oh, it's falling a little bit because the glue's still wet. That's okay. Once you figure out where you want it, you can lay it down to dry. And once it's all dry, then you've got a Peek-A-Boo pin! And that's all there is to it. You can redo that for all of your other Peek-A-Boo pins. You can draw another fish, another person, a boat, anything you want for your animals to be eating. You can make that and stick it in there. Have a nice day, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.